taking the dogs for a walk, and just been in bed since midday yesterday. I don't know what happened on planet Earth on Tuesday and Wednesday last week, but maybe there's something about the area that I'm living in as well. I essentially have been focused on a project for 18 months straight, and last Friday got ripped off it and plonked onto not a new project, but just something that's going to take about 6 weeks to do. You can see them, but all the way around there, like, I've got nearly 7 kilometres of fences to repair, but I've got a particular one's about 2.5 kilometres. I've got to increase its height because it's next to it's the major highway for this country, and it's not tall enough for a farm to be next to it. So on Friday I went and got 400 star posts and 10 rolls of barbed wire. And it's interesting because I think a sling of star post is about 600 kilos a hit. So by the time I had 2 star post slings on, I got one set which is 6 foot or 180 centimeters. The other one is just standard 165s plus half a kilometer each of barbed wire. Look, I don't even think that's a drip in the ocean of what needs to happen, but I just had to make a start. Anyway, let me tell you, 2 slings of star posts and 10 rolls of barbed wire on the car trailer. You're not going to go much more than 85 kilometres up a highway. Anyway, without getting the wobbles up. Fuck, it's heavy. Anyway, back to it. So after getting ripped off a project that I've been doing, that pump site, and look, I think it needed to happen, to be honest with you, because I'd brought it into completion, and you know you need a sea change, like just a sudden shift, and it happened, and it's like my life has been tipped on its head, and I've got used to that because it happens regularly in particular ways, but this one, I think, like, I'd been placing too much focus in one direction just to get something done. Anyway, so I brought it into completion. So with that, do you love how had an angel? The cats love coming too. Where's my other cat? There's 2 of them that love coming. Anyway, there's a point to what I'm trying to tell you here. So, after being ripped off something I'd been doing hard for 18 months. No, I think it's like 20 months now. 18, 20. Anyway, and with that, doing something that I haven't done in the area that I live. So I'm up in the Highlands, that's what it's called, and where I'm at is essentially the rainmaker for our state. I live on that. It's a range of, it's just a big hill that goes directly east to west. Anyway, I never get sick. Just don't get sick, but I don't ever take time off either. And look, I'm not saying I got planted flat on my ass, but I can't believe it's sunny today. Anyway, I thought I'd have to learn to just dance in the rain. So after getting pulled off one job and coming down here and getting straight into fencing, with the fencing, there's this shit called blackberry. You know, my driveway is 1 kilometre long, and I've been in bed for 24 hours. We're going for a walk up the driveway. So, blackberry. That's how you learn your crown of thorns. It's rose bushes but worse. Anyway, the boundary fence that I'm repairing was just full of it, and for 3 days I was on a chainsaw and hedge trimmers and whatnot, and my objective was to you're not going to get the fences clean, but it was to actually gain access to the top barbed wire. Now, actually surprised how quick I got it done. These fences probably haven't been touched in nearly 40 years, to be honest with you. So it was surprising that all was as good as it, all went as well as it did. You know, we're saying probably since the 80s. Nothing's probably been touched since the 80s. Anyway, why that is the case, that's a story for another day, and it's despicable. But we'll get back to what's going on in the here and now. So I just hadn't done this type of work like I've done a little bit of fencing here and there up in Sydney, but the odds were stacked very hard against me. The work was heavy. It was hard, but worse still, come on, Maserati! It's like the clouds decided to come down and sitting in the cloud for 3 days, and you could call it mist, but over 3 days there was about 18 millimeters of mist. So I didn't really think much of it, but like seriously, I haven't been sick in years. And I'm not saying I got atrociously sick, but dancing in the rain, it's that wet here. It takes me an hour and a half to get down to the paddock where I'm doing this fencing at the moment, and that's because I've got to navigate through the only track that this farm has available to get through it, so that I don't get the tractor bogged in a causeway. Anyway, so what's the point to this? After 3 days of working in the rain, I had a vest on, and the vests that I wear, obviously you bring them in and wash them at night, but the vest, it keeps you dry. Cockatoo. It keeps you dry from the rain, but then the contradiction is you are then wet from sweat. So I'm sort of caught in this issue where my body's struggling to self-regulate. So come yesterday, after I went and collected all the gear to try and make a start on the repair of this fence after cleaning it all week, after I got back from down in the paddock and got up here, I was just like, I don't feel very well. Anyway, I think I caught something which was worse than this pandemic, man flu. But was it an extreme case? Look, it's bizarre, because like I'm a personal trainer. I've got very quick self-awareness, and by yesterday afternoon I felt like a tickle in my throat, stuffy nose, my joints were sore, sinuses, just plus dizzy, and I was like, I've got to go to bed. I was like, I never do this, so I took half a day off. Isn't that crazy? I took a half a day off for the first time in a few years. And look, I'm breathing pretty good now. I just slept for 24 hours. I fasted for 24 hours. Anyway, sounds like kangaroo. So I just want to touch base quickly on the pandemic. People's brains are that rattled. It's like, oh, I got the swine flu. Oh, everyone's got the swine flu. You call him up, oh, he's a sick little boy. He's got the swine flu. And it's like, you're at the point right now where you being sick is a private affair. Now, I know that my relationship with our good Lord Jesus Christ is too top notch, and my belief systems are too convicted to get sick. Like, me getting sick was more, I was in the rain for 3 days. The work that I was doing was heavy, hot and hard. I was walking in 10 centimetre to 15 centimetre deep water for 3 days straight because we've had a flood, but I've got to get the fencing fixed. So conditions, it was a sea change that I wasn't prepared for. And what I went to was even harder than what I was doing. And I didn't realise that. And just too many conflicting environments all at once. And my poor old immune system just needed time to catch up. And like I was saying, so I'm walking right now and I'm not huffing and puffing. I'm actually feeling quite good. But isn't it funny how humans, like, getting sick is one thing. But the moment anything go, oh, you've got the fucking virus. No, I don't. Can't. And not only do I not have it, but because you've said it, even if I did, I would rather fucking die than you know if I had it or not, but I don't have it. The long and short of it is, I've been working really hard and I didn't have a break and I burnt out a little bit. But no, I don't have the fucking virus, just like I never got any of the other goddamn pandemics or malarias or swine flus or fevers or whatever other bullshit that could happen. Because the long and short of it is, I'm not a fucking sheep. And what do sheep go for? Fucking herd immunity. But what is herd immunity? Let's all take the fucking toxic disrespect and inject it into our bodies. I never get sick. And so, after being thrown up against the wall with some horrible conditions these last few days, it's the middle of summer and mind you it was 13 degrees, recovered pretty bloody well. So, next, isn't it funny how, I got the swine flu, I'm dying. Ring up some, oh geez, I caught SARS the other week. Nancy down the road's got it too. Oh, the poor. You fucking let it creep in because you wouldn't stop thinking about it. Stop fucking thinking about it. Where is Jesus in your life? If you'd had Jesus in your heart, you wouldn't have caught it. Is it so hard to think that maybe you've been under stress and you've been pushing, and with that pushing, you may have gone to a limit that you haven't seen in a while. And with that limit, you just needed a little bit of time to recover. Oh, isn't it terrible how, the power of life sits within the tongue? How you worded something differently and it's like, oh, so if I rest because I've been stressed, I can allow my body to, build up immunity so that I can get better and get on with getting on. Crazy, isn't it? Anyway, back to it. So it was bizarre to have a half a day off because it hasn't happened for a few years for me. Next. What I want to talk about is purpose. And, as a man of the land, rightfully or wrongfully, who is, I have, how do I say this? inherited the good genetics, the good skill sets of a farmer. I've got the gift. And yeah, like you got effortless skill, don't even have to think, just really good at what I do. And that now I've been watching some videos lately, and one was a CEO who, after 50 years, he's still working 14 to 16 hours a day. He's an Indian. They know how to graft, those Indians, eh? Anyway, his stress was, it was a ceramics company. We've got the change in tide, we've got the change in industry, we've got a change in times. And I was thinking about purpose, like you're looking at like projects, bigger projects. And he was faced against a dilemma, and there was a multiplicity of different directions and angles that needed to be covered in order to be able to fulfill what he knew needed to happen. So he had a calling. What was his calling? You have a look at the bigger picture. And anyway, so in his place where he lives, there was a earthquake. And when the earthquake happened, all the food ended up buggered because there was no power. Now, I could talk about that. Yesterday, the power went out on the farm that I live at. It went out in all the area. You don't want to open fridges or freezers. And I'm just lucky I've got 5 generators. Isn't that good? Anyway. But, once the petrol's gone, you're buggered. So there's a bigger solution that you've got to look to for the conundrum, which is the problem. And this CEO was trying to figure out what's the answer to this problem. And the problem was this industry's dying. But he doesn't want to lose. He's obviously trying to create a legacy or keep a legacy running. But he's trying to tie in from all angles a fulfillment of values to ensure that the idea marries up with the solution, which has a bigger picture resolution that brings a fucking spiritual growth of fulfillment that makes the person go, right, I died doing something that mattered. It's cool, eh? And I just thought watching this it just nailed it right on the head for me. And that'll bring it into what I've discovered keeps popping up for myself. So, say here, bloody sun. There was an earthquake, and with the earthquake, they ended up with no electricity, and the first thing that hit him was all their food has gone rotten. So he's like, I wonder if there's a solution where I can create a powerless fridge. And then he's looking at all the different angles, and he's like, right, it's got to be cheap because they're Indians. Look, I'm not trying to be rude, but if it ain't cheap, they're not buying. So, they went through the design process, and then not only that, because it's an artisan's art, he was like, rightio, it's the ladies that seem to be doing this more for them. And so, he was trying to tie in, and he didn't want an industry to die, but there had to be a big idea to keep it alive. But not only that, find a way that everyone gets the win-win out of it. So, over a couple of years, they worked on the concept, and they figured out a way where they put water into these fridges, and it keeps food, perishables, fruit and veggies, good for 7 days. Isn't that great? And with that, he was looking at the bigger picture and what was the advantage. That one idea alone, see, he thought it would help the poor, and it turns out the rich liked it because they didn't need to spend money. The rich, they're even tighter than the poor. It's terrible. Anyway, as he was rolling out the bigger picture and what excited him about it, he was like, look, it's not the fact that I've been able to triple the product range and we're knocking out, what was it, 10,000 pieces a day or something now? So I think he'd increased the business by 40%, and it was growing annually now because of the idea that he had, and the product range had increased, and just everything was working properly out of it. But the bigger picture was, as the CEO of the business, he knew that there was a product line of people being employed, and out of having that big idea where he was like, rightio, we have had the fulfillment where the fridges are keeping perishables good for 5 to 7 days. Because of the way that business works over in India, where it's more people than it is machines, he managed to find a way where he can increase a business's turnover, but also put money into the pockets of over 10,000 people, whilst also increasing the productivity of a business by like 40%. And it's, I was just like, isn't that the answer just there? It's like, how'd he do it? There it is. And so we're talking like fulfillment projects. Now, I was watching a video today whilst I was resting. I just had to get outside and get some fresh air and some sun. I think sun, it's not bad for us. So, and there was a couple, and these couple, they did a breakdown of a house that was being renovated over 2 years. And what I found interesting about it was a factory. They used no cheap equipment. It was all DeWalt and, and like all their power equipment was spot on. They were never hungry. And I was like, this is a power couple, and they've obviously had a buttload of savings. And I don't know, let's say the factory was worth like $1 million. No, it could be worth 2. I mean, however much it was. But they've obviously gone, look, if we buy it for $1 million and we sink 2 into it and we've got 1 or 2 spare. So they've probably had like 5 and they've had gone, look, let's spend 2 years doing this. Either that or so they've either done that where they've had enough to be able to sit happily and not be concerned about, they had a buffer between themselves and disaster for a big fat rainy day, and their rainy day was for over 2 years, or they're a power couple and they've been running a business that's making great profits whilst they're actually doing the project. But I just found it interesting. There was just none of this scratching around with cheap, nothing. Nothing was cheap. Everything was what it needed to be. I was like, they must, I don't know how much they spent on it, but 2 years. And it feels like they got married and they wanted to get that done before they had kids. And I was just like, isn't that interesting? So our good Lord Jesus Christ built the foundation. There is no one else. Jesus Christ is the foundation. And so, you got levels and levels and levels and levels. And so where I'm at right now is I am doing, I've gone beyond the Exodus walk, where I've crossed the river and we're just about to go from being supported on manna, and I'm about to go into what you would call the first year, where the land of Canaan is going to provide my food in that context. And so to tie all of that into what I'm trying to talk about in regards to the bigger picture, when I get ripped off a job and I'm trying to understand why did I get ripped off it, but then not only that, I'm trying to comprehend. So if it's going to be raining for the next month straight, and I know that I've got 6 kilometres of fence to be fixing, why would I be doing this? Where it all ties back into. So obviously I understand that sooner or later, you were talking about our promised lands, our lands flowing with milk and honey. The next step of my season is the promised land that I'm in. Somehow, I don't know how, this will be my inheritance. Don't know how. But taking that into context, that's why if God's playing a game of pool with us and he's lining up all the ducks so then he can just knock them all in one after one after one, nothing could make greater sense to me than to go, cool, milk, cows, boundary fences. If you're going to be responsible for the land now, you want to make sure they don't get out. Isn't that cool? So the land flowing with milk and honey. So here's the other side of it. I've just been speaking to a honeybee man, and we're about to bring a load of his hives. I'm going to put them up into one of the forests here, and I'm going to fence it off. So this, and the factory is a dairy. So this will be a property made for milk and honey. Am I going to do dairy milk though? Fuck no. It's too much like hard work. Look, cows will be enough. Anyway, looking after the place is enough, to be honest with you. So if you're like, cool, the land flowing with milk and honey, is that it? Because I'm trying to get to purpose, and like we're digging deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's like, next, you would think about law and order. You would think about chaos and order. And what happens when you put order into chaos, you end up with law. Now, a great way that I like to have a look at that is like, what are we doing when we create law in chaos? When we bring order to it, we are giving it definition. What is definition? It's no different than using poison around edges. We are defining. And then we look at boundaries. Definition. When I put a fence up, nothing enters, nothing leaves, because we're putting up the moats. It's like my electric fence. I didn't just put one wire up, I decided to put 4 up and make it that high that not even a kangaroo could jump over the top of it without being electrocuted to death. No one's coming in, no one's leaving. So, definition. And within that definition, the grander conundrum is, what is the meaning that I'm trying to bring to this? And essentially, we're trying to decongest. So, for me, if I'm trying to decongest, I would look at that from a much larger picture, from an eagle-eye perspective. You're going to love this. And eagles cull the sick in order to keep the environment clean. I'm all about biosecurity, so I don't like weeds. And then not only do I not like weeds, so you start to get on top of your weeds, you then realise that you need the right machinery to do that. So I discovered that it was flail mulchers. A flail mulcher is the next best thing to fire. It's like a 100 horsepower hammer. It's just like, it's the best thing you'll ever come across, and it leaves it better than a ride-on lawnmower. So you'll mow the ground so it looks as good as a ride-on mower, but it'll smash up wood that's as thick as your wrist and send it back to mulch. It's fantastic. So the PTO, the power takeoff within a tractor, and your 3-point linkage, you got a 100 horsepower tractor. You want to make sure that you got the machinery to be able to drive what it is you need to be able to use. I've got a 100 horsepower driven flail mulcher, and it's turning up next week. So everything's based around the definition that I want to bring to what it is that I'm trying to achieve, but there's still a bigger picture here, because I'm trying to explain to you purpose, because we think purpose is like, Scrappy Coco, he wants to do air. And I'm like, cool. So as a farmer, as the Lord is our shepherd, isn't that funny how we're all farmers, but we're not cockies, we're not, how do I say this? We're people of the land, but we're not identified with it. I would much prefer to wear just a flappy boater's hat than an Akubra. I'm not going to wear R.M. Williams. I'm just going to wear, I don't know, DeWalt or Puma. I'm not going to wear some sort of Wrangler shirt. I'll just wear something from fucking Target because it's comfortable and I can throw it away and get a new one. And when I throw it away, I can use it as grease rags for the tractor. It's fantastic, isn't it? Back to it. Now, farmers, we're bush mechanics. The Lord's people, we're bush mechanics. We got to do what we got to do the right things right, but then at the same time, keep our head on our shoulders and don't create an identity out of what we're doing. We are strengthened through Christ. Christ is doing all through us. Anyway, we're just paintbrushes. So the land that I'm on, because I'm trying to go, what is my purpose? And it's, you gotta see it. And I thought we're decongesting. So we're the white blood cells of the land. It's like, no, that's still not it. So it's like, it's not border security, it's not biosecurity. So you're thinking it's complete security. I mean, it's just crazy, the Lord's land, that plane that's over there. That guy's one of the head directors of an airlines here, like just billionaires everywhere. Anyway, I've been trying to find the common denominator of every piece of land that the Lord places us on. And I'm just like, and it only hit me yesterday, and I was like, oh dear. Aboriginals know it. First peoples know it. What are we doing? Because this place has got a Parks and Wildlife Act on it, where it protects the kangaroos that are of the land. Kangaroos are a definite omen for me. The Lord uses them a lot, especially baby kangaroos. If I have a kangaroo turn up, it'll be at a specific time and it'll give me a message for a particular reason. And some of the people that I have met, like Australia has some very special spiritual people, especially the Aboriginal people. They're magical. Anyway, it's like that movie Fern Gully, Maggie. There's humans that are like Maggie. Anyway, and you got to be open to it. But they know you. When they see you, they're like, yep, he's one of us. So I'm like, what's the bigger picture here? I'm trying to comprehend border security, biosecurity, homeland security. So think about security, because we're thinking about the bigger picture, and it's like decongestion, and so we're trying to keep an environment in check. We are the custodians. It's stewardship, and I'm like, cool, I'm there, but I'm still not quite there, because I'm trying to look at the bigger picture, because I've been sitting there for the last, I don't know, 4 to 6 months, and like, I'm not saying my my over-optimist has been sitting there as, the lottery thinker with constant hopes, getting your hopes up, and it's like, right here, within 3 days. And there's no within 3 fucking days. Maybe if you've got 2 million people, something will happen within 3 days for someone, and they could take it for what it is. But this fucking lottery thinking, spiritual bullshit that is on the internet at the moment, no. You got to keep tending the cows. You got to keep tending the sheep. Now, there is a common denominator, and it always pops up. And everything that has happened to myself, which is special at a moment which matters most, this always pops up. Now, I was talking about you've got all the different forms of security, and so you could go, biosecurity turns into integrated pest and disease management on a national level. Border security, look, that's maritime, but it's also air forces, and you've got that. And on a farm, that's making sure, or in a house, it's making sure your boundary fences are in check, boundaries. You've got homeland security, domestic violence. So, see, we've got the different levels of security, and it allows you to see what are we trying to look after here. And as men, we're here to serve and protect. And we serve and protect what God has given to us to be stewards of. Now, there's more to it still, because I was trying to get to the bottom of it, and there is always a much bigger picture, and yesterday it presented itself very clearly. Every time I end up somewhere, there is always a nest with a male and a female eagle on it. Up at Sydney, and also here where I live at, and the other farm that I was on, there is always a nest with wedge-tailed eagles. So we're all held to account to things, and isn't it funny how as humans, when we tap into our purpose of service, we're held to account by nature again. So, you'd be sitting there thinking to yourself, like, is there one specific thing? And it's like, well, there is no one specific thing, but when you have a look at the culminating bigger picture of purpose and trying to understand what am I doing here really to get the bigger picture of it, like I was saying to you, Aboriginals know it. They've got their totems. Some Aboriginal people are goanna people, some are magpie people, some are kangaroo people, and whatever people they are, they look after that particular animal, and it keeps that aspect of the environment in check. Isn't it funny how we've got particular things? Because I always have to look after the eagle and the serpent. It's crazy. But so my purpose is to ensure that the environment that I have been handed to look after is kept in check so that the eagles that live on the land that I am on continue not to thrive and flourish, but to continue. And then all of a sudden it's like, now you got it. Why do we do what we do? See the longevity in that? So obviously I have some prime land that has some very valuable habitat on it, that has some particular endangered species on it, and I have been assigned to these endangered species to ensure that they continue. We're park keepers. Anyway, so what are us chosen ones doing? For those of us that are on the land, you might want to look into it, but I thought it was fun, because the amount of spiritual work that we've done. Where it is. Where it is we've done. We're here to keep on the keeping on of what we've been assigned to be responsible for. And I just think it's absolutely fantastic that I've got the eagle to look after, but also I've dealt with the rainbow serpent. And it's all in the area that I'm living in. And the little thing that I had to do with the rainbow serpent, I don't know if you would call it symbolic or not, I had to return a diamond python, fucking 8 foot long python, to a water hole and decongest a meridian that was in the earth, and it started flooding after it was happening. Anyway, so we've all got the things that we have to do. I have to keep a balance between the eagles and the serpents. And kangaroos are very important with how I look after the lay of the land. Just the other day I had to, it was a very big buck, I had to stop it from drowning. I had to pull it out of a water hole, but it died in the end and I had to move it on. But, so I'm saying we're the caretakers, custodians. So I'm going to pull this up now, but I want to leave you to think about it, because I know Scrappy Coco loves air, you know? And it could be that you like to provide people with footwear so their feet are comfortable. So some people, it could be security, dependent upon the type of security. But what I'm trying to get at is, you'll see a nuance of different marriages was collectively pulled together, specifically what it is you're trying to achieve for the bigger picture, which is exactly what it is that you're here to serve and protect. We are the warriors of the rainbow. Isn't it funny? So I know that's a different way to look at purpose, because you'd be sitting there like, oh, I've got to be a personal trainer. I became a personal trainer and got distinctions in it to realise I hate working with people. Fucking annoying, they don't learn. Yeah. And I didn't realise that irrigation, it's just something that I'm really good at, effortless at. And it was my destiny mission to get good at it. And I don't know what the next step is. I'm pretty sure that my job is to look after the land. That we're talking. So that now back to, I was talking about Christ is the foundation. We are being placed into our promised lands, and so my job is to allow the foundation for the next generation. It'd be nice to have kids at some point, which is going to happen. I've got to lay a foundation for them to build upon. I'm just putting in the foundation. So Christ did the spiritual foundation, and there are those of us that are here on behalf of Christ laying down the physical foundation, so that the next generation on from us will receive the blessings of everything that we have put in place for them to build upon. So we're here to lay a legacy, but don't concern yourself if your legacy that you're leaving is to do with cleaning up weeds, fixing boundary fences, renovating broken down old houses, creating access to places that couldn't be created before, fixing pumps, fixing machines, just fixing up all these things that were broken. So you might find that you're in a restoration phase, and your life may be the life of restoration. You're here to restore what your next generation is going to use. So the only word wise that I would have with that, we really want to be good parents to our children, to ensure that they see the duty in being stewards and custodians to what's been left to them, because they are going to receive generational wealth. And that's a bizarre thing, because I got to the point where it was like, throw it all in the bin, but no, we are the patriarchs of generational wealth, and we have a duty to do the right things right, to be that example to the next generation. Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope this helped. Purpose. Bye for now.